You and all your fellow white MAGA podcasters are nothing but revolting white racists and PDF files.
We have arrested the author of this letter. George Isbel Jr. was taken into custody this morning, and we are charging him federally with mailing threatening communications.
The individual who wrote me described why he wanted me dead. I was a white, cis, Christian Trump supporter. They described in great detail how I would be killed in an open field just like Charlie, how much blood would come out of my head and neck when it was blown off.
Benny Johnson had a hater. He sent some disgusting messages to him and his family, threatening them right in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination. And now this dude, George Isbel Jr., has been federally charged and arrested. And Pam Bondi came out and gave an entire press conference about this. And Benny Johnson, you can see him right there, is there to support these charges against somebody who threatened him and his family. And the letter is just nasty as can be. So he's been picked up. He's been charged. We got the full document. We'll read through the letter. We're happy this dude is off the streets. And we'll come back to Pam Bondi's message about this in just a minute after we go through the criminal complaint, the arrest, and the documents. And here are what the documents say. Unsealed, filed 10/7/2025. The person charged in this matter, George Russell Isbel Jr. He was in the Middle District of Florida, and now the case, as we just saw, is out of California. Okay, so he was living there. Investigation is where Benny Johnson lives in Florida. He sent the letter from California. Looks like he's being charged there. Here's the background. Coming in from special agent of the FBI. George Russell has been arrested. He had to appear. They demanded he come for mailing threatening communications in violation of U.S. code. It's illegal to threaten people, as we've talked about many times. They say that this happened on September 18th, just shortly after Charlie Kirk was killed. Mailing threatening communications, again, brought by the special agent. So here's the background and the affidavit in support of the criminal complaint against the Benny Johnson hating psycho. Here's the story. All right, court. My name is Stephen Thames. I'm a special agent with the FBI. Been there since August 2016. Now, I've been so employed for 9 years. I'm currently assigned to the FBI Tampa field office located in Tampa, Florida, and my official duties include, but are not limited to, the investigation of terrorism as a member of the Joint Terrorism Task Force. As a special agent, I am a federal law enforcement officer, and I know the laws. I have received training in a bunch of things and have extensive training in arrests, conducting searches, and more. I've completed hundreds of hours of training in numerous areas, and I'm good at what I do. Now, I'm also a federal law enforcement officer, which means I'm authorized by the Attorney General to request an arrest warrant, and that's what I'm doing here. This affidavit is in support of an arrest warrant for George Russell Isbel Jr. for the crimes of mailing threats across the country. The statements contained in this affidavit, writes the special agent, comes from my personal observations. I've got some info from intelligence analysts and witnesses. It's also intended to show only that there is sufficient probable cause for the warrant, and it doesn't set out everything in the affidavit. I submit only those that I need here to effectuate the arrest and bring the charges, and there will be more coming, no doubt about it. Now, statutory law says it's illegal. It's a crime for any person to knowingly deposit in any post office or authorized depository for mail or matter to be sent or delivered by the post office or knowingly caused to be delivered any communication with or without a name or designating mark addressed to any person and containing any threat to kidnap any person or any threat to injure the person of the addressee or of another. Okay, you can't mail a threat to somebody, even if you don't sign it. Here's the facts in support of this. On September 25th, FBI Tampa was notified of a threatening letter received by victim one, presumably Benny Johnson or his family member, and his family, is Benny, in Tampa, Florida. Now, the police department was initially notified on or about September 24th, 2025. So Benny gets the letter. They call the cops. Cops say, oh man, this is a national threat. Somebody may have sent this. So let's get the FBI involved. They come to FBI. Then they're there. Patrol units responded to the residence. They got a statement from Benny and his family, and they collected the evidence, which is the letter for forensic analysis. Here's the letter. Sick letter. Listen to this. Benny Johnson or somebody, this is probably a federal agent who's opening this up, got some gloves on, taking a picture of this, but this is what went over to Benny Johnson, just to be clear on how psycho these people are. Dear Benny, why was I not surprised to see you wrap yourself in the flag, says the psycho. You are Charlie Kirk Jr. Sick of you white, cis Christian whiners spewing hate while hiding under the veneer of legitimate debate. Then he talks to everybody. You and all your fellow white MAGA podcasters are nothing but revolting white racists and PDF files. Saw you have millions of racist subscribers. He's got like 5 million. Yeah, 5.6 million. And they're not racist, of course. I must admit, I did not realize how many of you shallow, bigoted slugs exist in the US. You all need to be exterminated. Don't worry, won't don't be me. I'm not giving up my freedoms for worm crap like you. Please give my regards to Brenda Carr, a dazzling piece of Catholic S and contributor to P925 that you interviewed. Another prostrating Trump bootlicker like yourself. Nothing I write here today is going to influence you, but it is not intended to. You are obviously a lost, disgruntled, petty, and pathetic waste of flesh with no value to the human race. Now, the only reason I'm reading this is just so we have very clear ideas of who these psychos are. It's almost not worth reading it because it's just, a disgusting leftist freak show lunatic, but it is important that we see Benny is getting letters like this and still gets up every day and does the show and still gets up and says, we're going to go and speak truth. And that's courageous as hell. So shout out to Benny. And I want to make sure that people understand what is coming at him and people like him and the pressures that are associated against people on our side by the people on the other side. Now, this world has so much hate and pain thanks to people like you and Charlie Kirk, says this psycho writing this letter. You're an evil man. Do you dream of hurting other humans when you're asleep besides during every waking moment? Here is hoping the American flag strangles the life out of you, okay? My uncle drowned in the Rhine River to defeat fascists like you, and I will not let his death be in vain. So what are you going to do? The saddest part of your drivel is your contamination of naive minds. Maybe, underlined and bolded, maybe someone will blow your head off. 3 exclamation points. We can hope. Planning any public engagements? Love to see your head explode and your blood stain the concrete red. What a sight. That's a letter to Benny Johnson, who reports on the news and interviews people about the news and gets their takes and talks to Congress people, goes on peers, debates everybody. Again, just talking. And they can't friggin' stand it, man, because they can't do it. You can see when they attempt to talk, this is what comes out of their demented brains. Hey, man, you could just send him a letter about your arguments. Like, what's your argument? Why do you think he's evil? What's your argument? What do you think his policy position is that's wrong? What is it? Instead, they just want death. And this guy might just be a total lunatic. I don't know. But not that lunatic, okay? And I get tired of that argument now from the left. Well, he's just like disaffected. No, he's condoning political violence. This is like days after Charlie Kirk got assassinated. This guy is salivating about it, just like many other people in the Democratic Party were, blaming Charlie Kirk. Political violence is wrong, and then they go into something. Well, Charlie Kirk kind of deserved it, is ultimately what they were saying, right? And then they send all these letters out. They were making TikTok videos. We saw a bunch of them got fired for it, didn't even regret it. Like, oh, I had to speak my truth. So it's happening regularly. And oftentimes people don't get arrested for it. Now, this guy has. Thank you to Pam Bondi, no longer playing by the set of rules where you can just threaten Republicans and get away with it, threaten conservatives and get away with it. If it's anybody else on the other side, you get arrested. You show up to protest at an abortion center under Biden, you were scrutinized by the feds, by the FBI. It was ridiculous. So now Republicans are playing the same game. You want to send some nasty letters, you're going to jail. On or about September 25th, FBI Tampa special agent and Tampa Police Department detective interviewed victim 1 at his place of work. That's Benny. That was 2:30. During the interview, Benny stated that his wife initially received a letter. Isn't that nice? What a nice letter for your wife to open and read. I hope your husband's brain is splattered on the concrete. That's nice. Victim 1 stated that his family received threats on a regular basis, I'm sure, but once Charlie Kirk, his friend, was murdered, Benny stated that he takes these threats more seriously. He says he felt this threat was directed at him and his family. He planned to move in the near future and stated that his current residence was publicly available online for anyone to search and find. On or about September 25th, FBI Tampa coordinated with the U.S. Postal Service to determine the originating mailing location. From the report obtained by the Postal Service, as of September 29th, letter mail tracking analysis was performed using one first-class mail piece received from victim 1. The first-class mail piece was processed on September 18th at the U.S. Postal Center in San Diego. Okay, so the guy mails it September 18th, right? Charlie's killed on the 10th. 8 days go by. Benny Johnson's doing, a bunch of talking and media. This guy sees him, writes a letter, drops it in the mail on the 18th. Based on the results, the report found the mailing was deposited in the service area sometime between the evening. Okay, so he dropped it off the 17th, let's say. They got it the next day. He dropped it off 17th, Wednesday, and it was between the evening of September 17th and Thursday. So he's like going after hours. Okay, post office is closed. He's like, I'm gonna go drop this off. Nobody can see me. No one's gonna be able to track me. From analysis and review of the front envelope, a comprehensive LMT analysis was performed using several LMT resources. Now, an address analysis of letter mail processed in sequence of the above mail piece, as well as a review of other mail piece attributes, was performed. A comparison of ID tags from the mail piece to all available ID tags of the sequential mail pieces from the address analysis allowed the likely areas of acceptance to be established. Through the comparison of the above mail pieces to the address analysis results, coupled with the review of inbound transportation to the San Diego place, we determined the originating points either came from San Diego, Chula Vista, or Coronado, California. So they got 3 big cities. Like, okay, here's where we think it started from. Then, on or about September 26th, FBI Tampa provided the letter to FDLE Lab for forensic analysis. The letter was then transported to the lab in Pensacola. Analysis was able to obtain 2 fingerprints from the letter that they matched, baby. George Isbel Jr. Multiple fingerprints from the letter or envelope that came back to matches to Benny's wife and a member of his security detail who had also touched the letter. So 3 sets of fingerprints: wife, security, defendant. Additionally, forensics analysis was able to obtain 1 fingerprint from the envelope that came back to match individual 1. It revealed that individual 1 works at the UPS store where victim 1 rents the mailbox. So the UPS person, put the mail in his PO box and their fingerprints on it too. FBI got all the fingerprints. So FBI conducted baseline checks and determined that George Isbel resided in San Diego, 20 miles away from the post office box. So they run some forensics on it. They pull the fingerprints. It matches him. Based on the above, there's probable cause to believe this dude violated the law. We want a criminal arrest and warrant. Now, the documents were sealed and now they're unsealed. Of course, they want them sealed so that they can arrest the dude without him knowing about it. And that happened. They granted the seal, then they picked him up, and now the documents are unsealed. And the lunatic who wrote this disgusting letter to Benny Johnson has now been arrested. And here is what Pam Bondi had to say about this today.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you all for being here, and thank you, Lieutenant Governor, for being here. We've been living through a horrific cycle of political violence in this country. We've seen attacks against police officers, federal agents, including the deadly shooting in the ICE facility in Dallas. Night after night, Antifa wreaks havoc on our streets of our cities. In Minnesota, a gunman murdered a state lawmaker and her husband. It was horrific. An anti-Semitic lunatic tried to burn down Governor Shapiro's house while he was in it with his wife and young children. This week, authorities arrested a man outside a Catholic church in Washington, D.C. with hundreds of explosive devices. And on September 10th, our nation stopped in its tracks with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We miss him dearly. Unfortunately, I'm here today to talk about similar threats that were made against Benny Johnson and his wife, Kate. Benny's a well-known media personality carrying a message very similar to Charlie's, grounded largely in faith and love of country. Just days after Charlie's assassination, Benny received a letter at his home where he and Kate are raising their beautiful young family. The author of this letter made it very clear that he hated Benny because of his views and he wanted Benny dead. This was a coward hiding behind a keyboard who thought he could get away with this. That's why we're standing up here today. You are not going to get away with threatening people in this way. And I'm proud to announce that we have arrested the author of this letter. George Isbel Jr. was taken into custody this morning, and we are charging him federally with mailing threatening communications. It is a crime, and if convicted, he is going to prison. This was incredible teamwork. Benny called me right away. Chief Burkall, thank you. You were on it right away. Matt Fodor and all the FBI agents. Thank you, U.S. Attorney Kehoe. All of the U.S. Postal Service, FBI, state and local law enforcement working together. This is what it's about. And we are going to catch you if you think you can do something like this. We don't care if you're across the country in California. We will find you, we will arrest you, we will extradite you, and we will bring you to justice. We cannot allow this political violence to continue any longer. This arrest will serve as a reminder to many. Do not do this. We will find you.
All right, we read the details. Benny Johnson, we're happy to hear that some lunatic who wants him dead is now in federal custody. Here's a little bit from Benny himself. Here's a little bit of Benny.
1 month ago today, I witnessed my friend of 10 years, someone who I considered a brother, a loving husband, a devoted father, a generational leader, get assassinated on a live stream by a left-wing radical. Approximately 1 year ago, I witnessed the President of the United States get shot in the head by a left-wing radical, who also took the life of a Trump supporter in front of his daughters and wife. 2 months ago, Christian children kneeling and praying in a church were slaughtered by a left-wing extremist. And 2 weeks ago, federal law enforcement was shot at multiple sniper rounds in a federal facility by a left-wing extremist. If it's happening every single week, is it that extreme? Or has the Democrat Party mainstreamed violence as a political
point.
tool?
They celebrate
The individual who wrote me described why he wanted me dead. I was a white, cis, Christian Trump supporter. They described in great detail how I would be killed in an open field just like Charlie, how much blood would come out of my head and neck when it was blown off. This individual described orphaning my 4 beautiful children and widowing my wife with great joy.
Sick. And it's not just random, maybe crazy people across society. We also have candidates for the Attorney General texting Republican colleagues in Virginia that he wants to put 2 in the head of his political opponents. These people are violent revolutionaries. They've lost. And so now their only answer is to ratchet up the rhetoric and try to threaten and take out their political opponents. But Benny Johnson is standing in the breach from these psychos and continuing to march forward forward, and we support him, and we appreciate what is happening. We're happy to see that our DOJ is caring about stuff like this, because it's not just nasty grams. It's not just nasty letters. They're shooting and killing people and salivating over it and supporting those who do. And so we're happy to see that Benny Johnson and his family are going to be safe, at least from this one lunatic from now. And we'll keep our eye on this one. But congrats to Pam Bondi and the DOJ for standing up against anybody who sends threats. It's illegal. Nobody can send threats. Don't do that. It's not appropriate, but we don't do that. They do that. They want blood and death. We don't. We want a safe, prosperous America where people can speak freely amongst themselves without the fear of getting assassinated by political opponents in America. So shout out to Benny. Shout out to the Pam Bondi team. We'll keep our eye on this one. Thanks for subscribing and joining as we do.